So this one here is the 0.58x Metabones Speedbooster Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera, and this one here is the Metabones 0.64x. This is not for everybody. I actually managed to get the BMPCC 0.58 Speedbooster onto the Canon EOS M, and I'll tell you though, I don't know if it's worth it. And the reason I say this is because it is super tight. But here's what, so it's really tight. I just gotta be sure that, okay, so I'm gonna first take the adapter off. Okay, there we go. Got the adapter off. This is why. So this here is the Photodiox Micro Four Thirds NEX mount. So there was a level of protrusion around the edge that I literally just grounded down and away until it was flat with the original thing. Now, fun fact, when you get it, it's actually silver, but when you grind it down, it turns out to be some sort of, the natural metal color is a different color. You'll notice here, you see that circular indentation or scratch right around the, whatever, that square outer frame just above the sensor. Well, this thing goes so far back that it left an impression on my EOS M. So yeah, I mean, it'll work, but initially I was unaware as to the reason for why I was not able to fit. This is a Photodiox NEX to Micro Four Thirds NEX adapter. It looks like this because I grinded away a whole outer element. The reason I did that, so you'll notice how the metal here, metal on this one is different in terms of this metal protrudes out a little bit more. This would allow for the Photodiox to fit, whereas on here it wasn't. So that is for that reason why I had to grind away just to get this thing to fit. But even after doing that, due to the protrusion of these screws that clip the thing in, the only way to do that is to use a vice grip to turn that into place until I get it to lock up. Now that's basically locked in. Now, once I pull that away, I now have to use that vice grip to get that off. Is there a use case though outside of the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera for the 0.58x? There is. So this here is my GH4. This actually works in the sense of I can get it mounted on my GH4. Boom, it works. I can plug it in, I can turn it on, I can confirm that it works. However, I can't really show you, and the reason I can't show you is because on this particular GH4, my flip screen, this is dead, and all these buttons are dead. However, the viewfinder works. I can trigger record, so whatever settings that have been dialed in, which is 24p 4K at 2.3x crop off of 35mm standard, this thing still works. So for that reason, I do use it, but I'm probably going to sell it for parts only. So if you're interested in a parts only GH4, hit me up, and I might sell it to you. Otherwise, it's probably going to go up on eBay. But now on the other hand, I also tried it on this here is the Lumix G85, and I can confirm for you right here, right now, that I can't even get it to mount. And the reason for it is because that lip of the viewfinder is actually getting in the way of this guy even being able to get in. And so that's the problem. It won't even physically mount. What about something like the GH5? Well, with the GH5, the 0.58x does physically mount, as you can see here. However, anytime I turn this thing on, it's going to give me some sort of error message. So if I plug in a battery here on the GH5 and I go ahead and turn that on, it's going to turn on, but then it's going to give me some sort of weird error. There you go. Battery cannot be used. Why? I don't know. This is never, so it's a Panasonic battery. So for whatever reason, it tells me that the battery cannot be used. However, if I take that off and I put the 0.64 Speedbooster on there, and I turn that on, well, everything's just bright, but it's fine. It continues to operate. Let me just go ahead, find a lens that I can just mount on there. This is the Canon 50mm EF, right? And it's working just fine, no issues. So it has nothing to do with the battery. For whatever reason, it gives me that weird battery error whenever I were if I were to set this up. Now, I have read online, and I can't confirm it because I don't have a GH5S, but I have read online that if you mount the 0.58x Speedbooster on the GH5X, it does work. However, the thread I remember reading, the person had used it or had done it with the Nikon version. So the 0.58x Nikon mount to micro four thirds on the GH5X, and they said that it worked. So I don't know if it works with the EF mount. I don't have a GH5S to be able to confirm that. But now, on the other hand, with all of the shenanigans that I kind of did here for the EOS M, you can get it to work. And I think it would only be maybe worth considering if and only if you already have one of these. I don't think it makes sense to go out of your way to get one. And the reason for that is, even with the focal reducer, problem is that this here is a Sigma 30mm f1.4. I can mount this and I can get acceptable distance focus, but I can't get infinity focus with this guy. And so now anything wider than that, for sure you're not going to get infinity focus. So the solution with the EOS M is for you to essentially get yourself one of these, but don't make it all janky like I did. Instead of using a Speedbooster, get yourself a legitimate wide angle lens. This here is the Laowa 7.5mm f2. They also make a 6mm. If not this one, then you can definitely consider this guy right here. This here is the Voigtlander 10mm f0.95. This is I've rented this lens. Is going back today, but this is gonna go on my must-buy list, personally speaking. I just like the look of that lens. The other thing that this lens is really good for, you'll see that I have a step-up ring here. This is another Voigtlander with the Sura 1.25x anamorphic lens adapter. These two lenses tend to go really well together, the 40mm f1.2 and the 10mm f0.95. You could do 40, you could do 35. I think Voigtlander makes several of these. This is an E-mount lens. The only issue is that this E-mount lens here has electronic contacts, and so as a result, you're gonna have to modify this bayonet mount in order for it to click. Modified in this sense. This here is the same kind of electronic mount, kit lens. But once you put it on there, it goes, it should be able to mount just fine. But I just understand you're going to be permanently modifying this indent right here in order to just make this snap on. The alternative is get yourself a Voigtlander micro four thirds lens that's a little bit tighter than 10mm. The look and the aesthetic should be consistent. So, but we'll talk a little bit more about this particular setup in a later video.